Mūsų karta pirmoji, supratusi, kaip iš lėto kenkiame gamtai. Ir vienintelė, žinanti, kad dar yra laiko ją išsaugoti. Apsaugokime mūsų visų ateitį. Ergo.
The laws of physics, the laws of life. Laws connect everything. We think that to be legal advisors, we must live under the same philosophy, adapting to connect and connecting to adapt.
Nepraleiskite laiko veltui. Nauji kino festivaliuose kritikus ir žiūrovus sužavėję filmai. Elito kinas. Ketvirtadienio vakarais per LRT+.
Kad būtum, reikia kito. Kino Pavasaris. Kovo 24, balandžio 3 dienomis visoje Lietuvoje. Didysis partneris Ergo draudimo grupė. Informaciniai partneriai LRT 15 min žmonės.
Sveiki, labas vakaras, mėly Kino Pavasario žiūrovai. Eina paskutinis festivalio savaitgalis ir aš labai džiaugiuosi, kad šiandien prie mūsų prisijungia bent jau man vieno turbūt stipriausių ir labiausiai sujaudinančių šių metų festivalio filmo ŠØVIS Į AHEDÐS KELИ režisierius Nadavas Lapidas. Nadav, welcome to Vilnius.
Hi.
It's a great pleasure to have you here, even virtually. Thank you so much for joining. I would like to start for a couple of questions from my side, and then we will open up for the audience. AHEDS Ni, the title refers to Ahed Tamimi, the Palestinian activist, but your film is not actually about the conflict between the Palestine and Israel. Maybe you could tell us how did Ahed actually happen to be one of the starting points for this film?
Yeah, so I think that, it began as of course in the middle of the movie there's in the heart of the movie there is this filmmaker, this film director. So I wondered in a way which kind of films is he doing, and I told myself that that if you put in the middle of your film an artist, you must in a way you must confront, or you must try to figure out what kind of art does he fabricate. I mean there are so many movies about painters where you never see what they are painting, about poets where you never hear one single poem that they write, and I always feel that for me, I always feel that someone who wants to know me, for instance, should, in a way it's better to know my movies than to know myself. I always feel that I'm more my movies than myself. So I felt that and then occurred to me this Ahed Tamimi thing, the case of Ahed Tamimi, that I remember already when it happened. Like to those who maybe don't know, Ahed Tamimi is a Palestinian young militant living in a small village in the West Bank, coming from a family of militants. Very young, she got already pretty famous because she already when she was 12 years old, she wasn't afraid of confronting armed soldiers, etc. But she became a real celebrity, political celebrity when a video of her became viral. When she was 16 and a half years old, she was confronting a Israeli armed soldier that got into her house, and she slapped one of them. and she was put in jail for 8 months or something like this, and became afterwards, I don't know, she was on the cover of Vogue and stuff like this. She was so. But I remember that when I saw this video, I told myself that I mean, for me there was something interesting in it. That on one hand, it's like it's extremely concrete, political. You know, it's like the real people. The video of YouTube, you know, with this quality of YouTube, so it's really the here and there, the most concrete. On the other hand, I told myself that when you see this vision of this girl, of Aita Mimi, facing like armed Israeli soldiers, for me it looked like a kind of Renaissance painting. I mean, I told myself if she would have lived in the 15th century, so painters like Leonardo and Raphael and Donatello and all of this, they would never stop again and again and again to make endless versions of this moment, Aed and the soldier. You know, it would have become like these themes. I mean, it was like an aesthetical monument. And in a way, I was curious to meditate or to think about the connection and the contradiction between the visual and the aesthetic and the political. And I feel that it's something that is true also for the whole movie. That the whole movie is in a way, on one hand, extremely, I don't know, frontal and direct and concrete and political, and on the other hand, you know, it's a movie that ends with the earth looked from the sky throughout the clouds. I mean, in a way, it talks about life and death and the human state, and in a way, it's much more existential maybe than political. So for me, it was a good starting point.
And for the fourth time already in a row, you use your very personal stories, or at least very personal experiences that happen to be in the script. When I was watching the film, I kept on wondering which film is it that that he's going to present in that library. Can you tell a little bit more about the background? Because I also know that this film was written in an extremely short period, right?
Yeah.
That was a very urgent impulse of you to write it. Share with us a little bit of this story, this particular one with the...
Yeah, so, I mean, let's say that... like the circumstances of the whole process of the movie was very different from all my previous movie. The fabrication, I mean, like the movie was written, the script was written in 2 weeks and a half. Sinonimams, my previous one, was written in 2 years. The kindergarten teacher in 1 year and a half. This is usually the time I think that it takes to most of filmmakers to do a movie. Surely not 2 weeks and a half. And moreover, I would say that the evening before I started writing, I didn't know that this movie is going to exist. I had like a different thing in mind, and I was working on a different project. 2 weeks and a half later, it was already a reality, and we started the pre-production. So there was something in a way as if I was taken by the movie. Yes, if in a way I lost control while doing this movie, or I was controlled by something else. And I think that it's something that maybe that you feel in the movie. I can say that also. While doing the movie, I wanted to preserve this feeling of kind of loss of control, but the circumstances. Yeah, I was editing. I was during the editing of the previous one of Sinonimams with my mother, who was my film editor, who had like like a very deadly lung cancer she was they detected a very big tumor in her lungs. So we were kind of editing like between hospitals and editing room, and then I got a phone call from a bureaucrat from the Ministry of Culture, young woman, whom, of course, I didn't know in person, but who was a little bit like in the movie. In a way, surprisingly, when you imagine bureaucrat, she was vivid and devoted. You felt it, how much she's devoted to her profession, to her post, and extremely, I mean, filled with enthusiasm and funny and I mean, she was great. She was in a way the way you want to imagine bureaucrat in the Ministry of Culture. I mean, the bureaucrat from your dreams, and then just before so she invited me to come and to screen the Kindergarten Teacher, one of my previous films, in the desert, in the Arava, place where more or less I've never been, I never visited, but and just before she mentioned, totally occasionally like this, she mentioned this form that she saw that I haven't signed it yet, I should sign it, where I should fill the topics of my intervention, my Q&A after the movie. And it was in a period where this feeling of oppression and fear and censorship in the Israeli culture was in a kind of peak. I mean, it's not like that like these things are okay, but it was a period where really like people there was you really felt like this political oppression, and people when they were talking about their future projects, if there was something kind of provocative about it, they started to whisper, to look around them, you know, to end sentences like with 3 points, like I'm going to do a movie about 3 points. So you didn't have to be Einstein to understand what does it mean, this form. And I was thinking, then I mean, in a way, I felt as if I'm not. I mean, in a way, I had to express what I felt. So I told her like immediately, okay, I understand that you don't like opinions that are not yours or something like this. And yeah, I mean, I always feel that I tell the movie when I tell the story, because it's really like this in the movie. But so she said, yeah. You must believe me that I don't feel very comfortable with this. I'm pretty ashamed of all of this, okay, of what I'm doing. So please sign the form. And like in the movie, I called the journalist, and I told her the story, and she said like, wow, it's unbelievable that she admitted. I mean, I'm not surprised by the thing itself. But call her and record her, find an excuse to call her again and record her, and I told her, maybe I'll do it. And then I told myself, okay, I can't do it. I'm going to ruin the life, or at least the professional life, or maybe also the life of this young woman. So I didn't do it. So unlike why in the movie, the director, I went to the Arva and I signed this stupid form. But then, you know, and 1 month later, my mother passed away, and maybe 3 weeks afterwards, I started writing the script.
But my previous question was also related with the fact, which is like maybe I'm completely wrong, but I saw a similarity between the actress that you chose to act as a Yahalome with Miri Regev, and I remember like very controversial reaction of Miri Regev to Sinonimams. That's why, in a way, I was like wondering maybe there's a connection between the Sinonimams and the movie that you're screening.
Kind of inner joke or something like this. And yeah, I know. Let's say that we didn't. Miri Regev, like resembling to Miri Regev. Yeah, she said. I mean, you know, afterwards, it's not like I don't know if in Lithuania you know Miri Regev or you don't Miri Regev, and if you don't know, it's okay. I mean, she's not so important, but it's not. You know, you didn't miss a special. Personality if you don't know her, but I never thought, you know, that it's, and also in the movie in a way, I mean, it's not something personal. I mean, I and in a way I feel it also in the movie, you know. At the end, it's not about the form, it's not about censorship even. It's about a kind of confrontation maybe between an individual, in this case an artist, and a society, and a sick society, an individual who became himself sick, being a part of the society, and let's say maybe even on a wider term, it's what becomes out of you when you live in a sick society. Should you, when you live in bad circumstances, can you remain good? Should you remain good? What does it mean to be good? I mean, I think, you know, that it's going to these places, and in a way, I always feel that for him, this form only proves all the bad things that he thought about this place from the beginning. I mean, in a way, if it wouldn't have been the form, it would have been maybe something else, or maybe, but one of the criteria of the casting wasn't like resembling to Miri Regev, but I think that maybe a little bit like Miri Regev, there's something about the physicality of this woman, but not only her physicality, her character, that in a way she's a kind of the Israeli fantasy or the Israeli dream. Like you feel that she was born in the middle of the desert, and yet she reads books. I mean, she's opinionated and yet extremely kind and nice. She's beautiful with a certain sensuality, but not like kind of exaggerated sexuality. And I think that also in the movie, she's great. I mean, how can you dislike her? I mean, you imagine her like a kid, when everyone else was running outside to play in the sand, she was like sitting in her room reading Jules Verne. So she's great. The only thing that in order to do what she's doing, she has to close her eyes and to make people sign these terrible forms and to be in a way in the service of evil.
Not only resemblance in her image, in her body, in her face, but also the fact that she's from the periphery, from like what you already mentioned, the desert. And I think that this plays also a very important role in your film, like this maybe clash between the periphery of Israel and maybe the intellectual center, which is Tel Aviv.
Totally, I think that in a way, for my first movie, Policeman, that put in the center two group of people that even when the physical distance between them might be 5 meters, but they can they don't have the slightest capacity for a dialogue. They're in a kind of essential misunderstanding, which is also in a way each one of them play his predetermined social role in a kind of Greek or Israeli, or it might be also Lithuanian, I guess, tragedy, which is our society. So I think that in a way also here, I mean, there's something. Their perspective about existence are so different. I mean, they come from different background. They did nothing in a way. I mean, her dream was to get out of this small village in the desert, and to have a respectable place in society, for instance, as a part of the Ministry of Culture. For him, it's something that basically he despises. I mean, he has maybe the privilege, to despise it. I mean, she, when she tells him, I don't know, how she wants to be the service of artist, he looks at her as a kind of either parasite or the kind of the face of oppression. I mean, they look at the world from completely different point of view, and that's why also in the movie, that's why I think that in the movie there's no like clear moral judgment. I mean, it's not like that the movie is not like a kind of these movies that create a kind of moral dilemma, where the spectators should ask themselves if in her place they would have keep on collaborating with this thing, or they would have nevertheless throw this form in the face of the minister and would tell them whatever. I mean the movie is not this. The movie is a kind of I think emotional and physical and mental state of mind, or state of a place, or a soul of a place, or a kind of attempt to portray a certain moment in time and in the history of Israel, of Western world, of the universe, etc., 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 and not a kind of, as I said, not a kind of, a moral or political dilemma when there are good ones, bad ones, a problem and a solution.
And that in that scene where Yud actually comes and meets the audiences, there's like very strong doubt in him whether this audience can actually resonate with his films and with his thoughts and his in general worldviews, right?
Yes, I think that is starting point. I think that Yud is someone who lives his most of his life or his entire life in a position of resistance. Now, it begins with a kind of political resistance, which is under certain circumstances is not only legitimate, but something that we can only respect. I mean, I don't know, he disagree with the regime, with the government, with their politics, with their way of thinking. So he detached himself by resisting. But in a way, I think that when you live most of your life in a position of resistance, at the end it doesn't end there, because it doesn't end with supporting or not supporting a prime minister, especially when you feel that it's not about politicians, it's about actually these politicians, like for instance Miri Regev, they are a reflection of the soul of your nation, of the DNA of your nation. And then of course you find yourself in an opposition, in a resistance, not only to the Minister of Culture or to the Prime Minister or to the President, but also to the people that you see in the streets, to the people that you see in the supermarket, to the public in the theater, in the cinema. You see around you only enemies and only dragons, and you find yourself in a kind of permanent battle. There's a very, very beautiful by Nietzsche when he says more or less, something like he who fights against dragons should put attention not to become a dragon himself. So I think that unconsciously Nietzsche wrote this sentence about my film, because I think that it's really like you see someone who at the end is detached himself or became totally detached from humanity and from the human inside him. I mean, he doesn't need empathy from no one. He doesn't have empathy for no one, maybe except for his mother. The only interaction that he knows is a conflict, between the most common and neutral words that he say, yes, no, thank you. There's always like a huge subtext, which is almost always like a declaration of war. I mean, out of being so much time or feeling so much time that he's right and that the others are wrong, even if it's true, he became terrible. And in a way, I think this is also a part of the movie that I mean, 6 societies, they give you only bad options. I mean, between this respectful, terrible person and this kind collaborator, Yalom. I mean, it's a little bit like in the story that he tells her about his military service, when like there are 3 options. You can be the devil, the tormentor. You can be the blind victim who doesn't understand anything, and you can be in a way the third one who looks at things from a distance as if it was a kind of artistic spectacle, understand everything but doesn't intervene. In a way, the only option that you don't have there is to be the good one, to be the normal one, to be the one who's saying, I don't know, hey, it's not right what we are doing here, maybe we should do it, something like this. I mean, this option doesn't exist, this option that in a way is portrayed only in more or less in the last scene of the movie with this be good or something like this.
And the sister of Yehalome trying to convince him that he is good, right? That was...
Yeah, let's say that I think that I think that in a way maybe she can, she's the only one there who is not afraid of him in a way, because she see that in a way he is not angry, he's just sad or something like this. Or that beyond this fury, this anger, there is a huge abyss of sadness. And I always think that it's in a way my most, I wouldn't say optimistic, but my most humanistic movie. I mean, because it doesn't mean, that the solution to all the problems of the universe is that you will be good, maybe you're already good, or that I will be good. But in a way, for a second, for a slight second, there is like this super basic and essential and primordial interaction between one human and another human, and this person, for a second, he refines again the human inside him, or reconnects with the human inside him. Afterwards, I guess, that when you are human, maybe you don't change the course of history, and you can't beat death. I mean, you can't save your country from its political loss, and you can save your mother from her death. But I guess this is a part of this thing of being human.
And here, actually, I would like to talk about something that is very relevant nowadays, especially in the context of the war happening in Ukraine, and I believe like a very tragic situation that a lot of also Russian and Belarusian people happen to be the ones that are not allowed to express their opposition to the regime because the punishment is incredibly strong, and so on and so on. And I think that this movie really talks a lot about the intellectual's position in the face of wrong politics, wrong habits in the society, etc. I don't know if you would like to elaborate, but I just wanted maybe your personal take on your position as someone that, like through his film, speaks to masses, speaks to international and national audiences when it comes to reflecting the reality in Israel.
I mean, I can maybe talk a little bit about my perspective. I mean, I remember before I made my first film, before I directed Policeman. So I had this, it was still, in 35 millimeters. So I have this vision of myself passing from one small village in Israel to the other with this huge copy on my back, coming to the central square and calling people and screening the movie. Let's say that it took me about 3-4 months to understand that it's not going to happen like this, and to understand that this as we know, that this dream or this fantasy about changing the world with your art is it's pretty complicated, in a universe where people are controlling media, all this stuff. At the same time, I think that deep inside you, in a way, you must have this aspiration. I mean, I think that, all my movies deal with people who try to break the wall with their head. And of course, at the end, most of the time, it's your head which will be broken, not the wall. But in a way, you know, at the end of Sinonimams, the last shot of Sinonimams, my previous film is someone who's trying like to running and hitting a closed door again and again and again. So I think, you know, that I feel, for me at least, that even if the door will never be open, and even if the wall will never be broken, it's a kind of existential state, you know, existential state, the state of running and hitting these walls, this it might be regimes, but again and again and again, with no connection to the question whether I mean, the question is not the result or the consequences. The thing itself, the act itself, is in a way, I feel, an existential choice.
Maybe we have some questions in the audience. If not, then I would like maybe to also, we don't have that much time, but I would like to touch the formalistic side of your film, not only the ideas behind it, but well, what really strikes in your film is the daring use of camera, which is very, very dynamic and like very intense and really noticeable. The movements. Maybe you can talk about your artistic choices.
Yeah, I think, you know, I felt from the beginning that the movie deals with a character, but also the movie itself, the temperament of the movie itself. But it deals with someone who is all the time on the edge of collapsing, or on the edge of shouting, or on the edge of crying, and on this sense, although, and in a way especially, you know, that on the surface, like, the plot is okay, the director is going to the desert for a screening of one of his previous movies. It sounds like a very contemplative film or something like this. You know, you can imagine like very long shots of someone walking in the desert, but it's all the opposite. I mean, I felt that it's a movie that must vibrate for the first second. And a movie where your thoughts, your emotions, your ideas, your mental situation is must be as present and as important as the concrete situation. I mean, when someone is walking on the sand from left to right, it's everything but neutral. And in a way, you know, I felt that it's not only that, of course, whoever knows my movies, I love formal adventures and cinematic adventures. And then for me, you know, I feel more and more bored to see movies where I can predict all the shots one after the other, and that I feel that they are shot in a kind of formula. But in a way, even beyond this general thing, I felt that the only truth of the movie is to shoot it this way, that you cannot shoot this movie normally, like in a kind of more normal way, because it wouldn't be the movie. It wouldn't be this movie. So I tried to, you know, before shooting the movie, I looked again and again on YouTube these videos of Jackson Pollock. I don't know if you know him, like running and hitting and in a way I try to for me, the camera in a way tells the truth of the moment. I mean, there is the scene, this and this is happening, but the camera tells you what's really happening. What's really happening, it's also what's the real mental situation. I mean, okay, as I said, like the guy can say, "Hi, how are you? Thank you," but actually is burning. So the camera had to bring all the time this truth, the truth of the movie.
And another very significant element in this film, I think, also the humor that comes from the usage of the music, but also from the scenes that, like, which are when you use that music. Yeah, I don't know if you would like to elaborate on it.
Yeah, no, I must say that, people, when they watch my movies, like, they think that I'm like an unbelievable dancer, like, they think that I'm kind of John Travolta, afterwards it's always embarrassing, in parties, like, they want me to dance, like, in the movies, but it's not true, but I think that, let's say that I think that in my movies there are two levels, there are always like two axes. There is the axe of words, and there's always this person, here it's clear, this person who try to redeem or to save himself and humanity with words, like to say all the words in a kind of, a little bit this fantasy of standing on the moon and talking to the whole humanity and finally say everything, and then everything will change. And so I think, there is in a way this fantasy and this belief that in order that that a miracle will happen, you must say all the words. So there is this, words as a possible redemption, which always in a way turn and end in a kind of failure. And the other option is the body, and which gives you in a way a corridor to a different kind of truth. And so that's why I feel that in my movies, the dance scenes, they are not like, just narrative scenes when someone is going to a club and then he dance. The dance scenes is dances where people, they dance themselves. They dance who they are. They dance their thoughts. They dance their what they imagine. They dance their state of mind. In this sense, it's a little bit a musical, it's me, because people, you see a scene and then someone is dancing what you saw. Yeah, someone told me that it's called it Tel Aviv Wood, like Bollywood. Yeah. So I think that these scenes are like essential. That's why it's not like music as a kind of distraction. It's music as music and movement as a possibility to obtain a truth.
Nadav, thank you so much for joining us. You know that you're always welcome in Vilnius. We've been trying to invite you for already several years, and
I know it's terrible. I know, and now also now I live in Paris, or really, the distance is next year in Vilnius, like they said.
That's for sure. And you have a film coming up.
No, but I'm ending a script, so maybe in 2 years in Vilnius, maybe next year. Let's see. But I'm really looking forward. I really thought that I'm gonna make it this year, and I promise that in person it will be even nicer. Although it was very nice.
Invitation is extended to your father too. It would be great to have you both, and we look forward to your new films. Believe that here in Lithuania there is a fan base for your cinema. It really resonates here, and really appreciate it every time when it comes out. So wish you luck, and thank you so much for your time.
You too. It was a pleasure. Thanks. Have a good day. Ciao.
Kad būtum, reikia kito. Kino Pavasaris. Kovo 24, balandžio 3 dienomis visoje Lietuvoje. Didysis partneris Ergo draudimo grupė. Informaciniai partneriai LRT 15 min žmonės.